benvenuti, welcome, ahla sahla bikum. I'm extremely delighted to welcome, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, to actually keep the promise that we gave ourselves last year to be here in person. So I'm so happy that especially 45 young change makers from 20 different countries are here in Lugano today. They didn't only come for this forum today, it's only the culmination after 9 days of seminar where they have discussed, debated, where they could have a safe dialogue in a safe space. That's what we want to give. And the young change makers are actually not only the soul, but the spine of this forum and of these 9 days of dialogue. So I'm delighted to have such a large outturn today. As every year, the forum addresses current topics of the region that is in constant flux. Obviously, we're going to address things that they have discussed during the seminar, and the current situation in the world is actually really taking over and has got an enormous impact on the region also today. Unfortunately, the Luganese, His Excellency, and the President of the Confederation, Ignazio Cassis, cannot be here live today, but we will soon see a short video message. But I'm delighted to have exponents and His Excellency, some excellencies of the Swiss embassies in the UAE and in Lebanon and also in Tunisia. So warm welcome, ahla sahla. And we also had some people from the Foreign Ministry also during the seminar. It does make me proud and immense pleasure to have such a large outturn of not only prominent excellencies and wonderful ladies who will address also in this opening keynote speeches, but also so many talented and convincing ladies in the young changemakers. This is really a wonderful thing to have, and that we have giving special attention in the last years. We will have 3 panels today, as I said, about current topics. The first one will be on geopolitical questions of the region, obviously addressing the Russian-Ukrainian effects on the MEM region. The second one will be addressing the energy transition that is very, very important. And of course, the third one, we will talk about food insecurity and climate change. We will round up this forum with 2 conversations, one on tolerance and religion in Islam, and the second one will be about culture in the region, and we'll have a conversation with 2 artists on this topic. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the word and the floor to Lorenzo Cantoni, Deputy Rector of Universita della Svizzera Italiana. Please, Deputy Rector.
Signora Ministra, signora Ambasciatrice, signori ambasciatori, dear young change makers, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy and honored to welcome all of you here at USI, Università della Svizzera Italiana. I believe this is the right place to be today and to discuss those issues. Università della Svizzera Italiana is the most international university, public university here in Switzerland. We have students from 119 different countries. And so we are really focused on intercultural communication and understanding. I have 2 messages for you just to kick off. The first one, I'm a scholar in digital media, in communication. And the first message is that we should feel guilty as scholars in communication because we kind of suggested in the last decades that communication consists of speaking and spreading, casting, even broadcasting messages. This is not at all true. Communication, spreading messages is expression. Communication happens if and only if an act of expression meets an act of understanding, an interpretation, and ideally a good quality understanding. And so I believe what you have been doing here in the last days and what you are doing here today is really fully in the domain of communication. So people really committed to understand each other, to not just to speak, to present their own positions, but to understand and listen to others. A second message, and last one, by the way, is that a recent book published by the MIT Press by Fishman and Gardner, titled The Real World of College, has suggested to distinguish 4 types of learners, but it applies also to instructors and the public at large. They say one could be inertial, so people who go to the university just because they do not know where else to go. Here at USI, we try to send them out, and I'm pretty sure if you are here, you are not at all inertial. You have decided, you have a purpose to be here. The second type is the transactional. So people who go to a college or a university in order to make a nice career. And I'm pretty sure, and based on the past experiences of MEM, young change makers who have attended this event, that has helped in their careers, in their networking, and in general in their social capital. So this is a good reason, but cannot be the only and the most important reason. The third type is explorative. So people who go to a university to explore different point of views, to meet different people. And here at USI, we are really kind of a microcosmos, and the MEM is in itself a microcosmos. But then there is the fourth type. And the fourth type is the transformational people. So people who go to a college really ready to change themselves. And hopefully, later on, maybe even better ready to change and improve society at large. And so I wish all of us, all of you, to belong to this group as well. So really to be committed to a better understanding of society and to improve the quality of future and current and future society. As you know, nothing like this could happen by chance. And so I want also to thank heartfully the former rector of USI, Boas Hayes, who launched this MEM series. And then the real soul of MEM, Dr. Federica Faidiani, Vittoria Lomazzi, and all the team behind what is happening right now. I want to have the Federal Department of Foreign Affairs for a great support in what we are doing here. The RSI as a media partner, the Municipality of Lugano, all the sponsors, and first of all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this wonderful welcome from USI. So I'm delighted, as we said before, to have the first keynote speech by video of Ignazio Cassis, the president of the Confederation in this year. Please.
Excellencies, dear participants, dear friends and colleagues, welcome to Switzerland, and in particular, welcome in my home cantonal state of Ticino. Switzerland has a long history of close cooperation with all states of the Middle East and Mediterranean area, thanks in particular to a dense network of diplomatic representations. I am therefore always keen to hear regional insights emerging from your informal discussions at the MEM Summer Summit. 2 years ago, the Swiss government adopted its first comprehensive MENA strategy 2021-2024. This shows the importance we attach to this neighboring region in addition to our close ties with Europe's Mediterranean countries. To develop the MENA strategy, we conducted broad consultations, including MENA embassies in Bern, associations, the private sector, and academia. Exchanges between MEM participants and the MENA division of my department were also a source of inspiration. In fact, a picture from the MEM was selected for the cover page, underlying the strategy's emphasis on youth. Although 2 years have passed since then, during which a lot has happened in the world, I believe the strategy's broad orientations remain valid today. At the same time, new challenges and trends have emerged. I'm thinking of food insecurity, inflation, climate change, and new geopolitical tensions. But I'm also thinking of all opportunities offered by the digital transformation and the energy transition, for example. You have just been discussing these topics for several days. They will be addressed again today with senior state representatives and distinguished experts. For the 5th time this year, my ministry, the Swiss Federal Department of Foreign Affairs, is a proud partner of the MEM Summit. We want this event to be a privileged space for out-of-the-box thinking. First and foremost, it is meant to benefit the MEM region itself, but it also serves as a source of inspiration for the Swiss foreign policy. As I speak, Switzerland is preparing to sit on the UN Security Council in 2023 and 2024. We are also conducting the midterm review of Switzerland's MENA strategy. Against this background, we are all the more eager to hear your thoughts on the evolving opportunities and challenges of our time. I wish to thank the Universita della Svizzera Italiana, the distinguished state representatives, the experts, and the bright young participants for making this event possible and to generate added value in order to prepare the future. I wish you a fruitful exchange and a wonderful time in Lugano.
Wonderful welcoming words as well, even by video, but he's been the supporter for really, all the editions, and we are on the 5th edition today, so it really makes us all proud. So thank you for the support. This round of applause. Now I'm delighted to announce the next keynote speech. It will be online, so I hope we're connected to Jordan. Is the line? Yes, wonderful. So, Your Royal Highness Princess Reem Ali, Ahla wa sahla, Sharafna. It's as having you here in Lugano, so we expect you anytime. Ahla wa sahla daiman, and we're very happy. Your Royal Highness Princess Reem Ali has been elected president of the Lindh Foundation in Jordan in 2021. So we're delighted to have your keynote speech. Please, tfaddali.
Shukran wa ahla wa sahlan. Grazie tanto, buongiorno. Thank you so much. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and dear Dr. Federica Frediani and wonderful team that is with you today. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be invited to the Middle East Mediterranean Summer Summit, and I'm really sorry I couldn't make it in person this year. So thank you for accepting a Zoom contribution this year again. I do hope there will be other opportunities. The work that you do is incredibly useful to moving toward a better understanding of the other in a region where it is badly needed. Now, at this time, more at the time of the Barcelona process, which led to the creation of the Lindh Foundation, we're facing complex challenges as a consequence of several crises: Brexit, the pandemic, and Ukraine, as well, of course, as the ongoing climate change. And the challenges are not only more complex, they also seem to be multiplying. As the president of the Confederation said, though, there are challenges, but there are also opportunities. And in this context, I believe that the work that the ALF does has never been more necessary, for there can only be solutions based on solidarity and cooperation, both at the government level and at the level of civil societies. The Anna Lindh Foundation was born from the realization that it is not only possible, but also greatly desirable to change some of the realities of our Euro-Mediterranean region through the role played by civil societies on both shores of the Mediterranean. Promoting intercultural dialogue today demands more varied and innovative solutions, most of which can be found within the network of young NGOs that are under our umbrella. And while we're accountable to the 42 member states that constitute the Union for the Mediterranean and which contribute to the ALF's working budget, one of our primary tasks is actually to listen to the young people whom we aim to serve and support. Now, based on that, we recently identified the following themes to guide most of the activities we're working on in our new phase, mainly with the support of the European Union's Southern Neighbourhood and Neighbourhood and Enlargement Directorates. Those themes are media literacy, which is an essential component for citizenship and democracy, and can help combat hate speech as well as all kinds of discriminations and extremisms. Addressing COVID recovery from an economic standpoint, but also, and that's so important, from a mental health perspective to promote inclusion, dealing with the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war. We are admittedly talking about the largest refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. This realization can be used to lead to an awareness that refugees should be treated more humanely no matter where they're from. And a lot can be done to address both the reality and the perception of double standards when it comes to refugees and make sure that no one is left behind. And of course, there's the impact of climate change on societies ahead and beyond the COP27 conference in Egypt later this year. And in fact, the ALF has already started workshops with NGOs to build, to negotiate, to find common solutions in that field with specialized partner organizations from the north and the south of the Mediterranean. And we've hosted region-wide seminars to allow networks to exchange good practices in that field of climate change. Because the youth with whom we work understands that we do not have the luxury to delay action on the environment. And coming from a country like Jordan, which is cruelly wanting in water, I understand that too. All that the youth ask for is for our support and to be able to work in an enabling environment. Our projects are led by civil society organizations because, better than most of us, young people know how to connect with one another. They've mastered the virtual space in which most of them live and interact. And despite that, they remain acutely aware that their projects to promote intercultural dialogue will not amount to much concretely unless mobility levels that existed even before the pandemic are not just restored, but are raised. Now, we all know that the notion of mobility is intimately linked at the end of the day to the notion of acceptance of one another. And that's why the ALF has been looking closely at the question of the perception about populations on the move. And I have to say, currently, it sadly reflects more often than not a rejection of the other when the other is of a different ethnic background, culture, or religion. For as long as migrants and refugees will be perceived as burdens rather than the assets that they are, in aging economies especially, radicalism and extremism will maintain the upper hand. And that's also why one of our main projects at the Foundation is also about mobility. Now, concretely, this means internships, the elaboration of common research projects through working trips, educational exchanges for students and academics, and residencies for artists. And we're also working to revive the Young Mediterranean Voices programs that focus on enhancing capacities to action of the youth by supporting community-level projects and debates, as well as offering opportunities for young people to have a place at the table when there are seminars and workshops at the government level, a bit like this seminar, but not only. Indeed, we are convinced, as ever, that physical exchanges are the golden path toward a better knowledge of the other, and therefore toward concrete dialogue. So you can see we have great dreams, but of course we remain realistic as well. At the ALF, we are aware that there is a plethora of visions that are not supported by action, and there are also so many actions that are not supported by any visions. The vision of the ALF can and must be supported by concrete actions. The work of the Foundation to promote dialogue through culture, media, and education does have the power to help reverse recent tendencies that are not conducive to building bridges. And this power comes from the 4,500 networks with which it works closely to create new realities within our Euromed region. It's a soft power that one cannot underestimate. I have great faith that this vibrant youth, that is for the most part convinced that we need to see a convergence of cultures, will prevail. Whether affiliated to the woke movement or any other movements, it is significant that these young people have not given in to the voices that call for a clash of civilizations. Desmond Tutu said, "You cannot be human on your own. You're human through your relationships. We are made," he said, "to complete one another." Applying this principle implies that one must never normalize situations where a human being is attacked physically or in their dignity, be it at sea or at our various borders, or within our diverse societies, or where families are expelled from their homes or land, or that they be excluded or oppressed. For us at the ALF, intercultural dialogue is about respect for one another and translates into a mutual enriching of one another because we are inevitably linked by a common humanity and a common destiny. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shukran Akdir, Your Royal Highness. It's a great pleasure and it's so inspiring because these aims of the Anna Lindh Foundation are want to be reflected also in what the youth has been doing in these 9 days of seminar, having this discussion, this intercultural, interreligious dialogue, and really, as we said, the young change makers are the spine also of this forum, and great that civil society is playing such an important role. So thank you so much for your time, for your inspiring words, and we look forward to having you in Lugano, inshallah, next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
So without further ado, it's an extreme honor and pleasure to have the next keynote speaker here physically in Lugano. So we're extremely honored to have the Minister of State for Youth Affairs of the United Arab Emirates, Her Excellency Shamma bint Suhail Faris al-Mazrui. Ahla wa sahla. She's been appointed as the Minister of State for Youth Affairs in 2016 at the tender age, if I'm allowed to say, of 22 years. And it's amazing what you've been achieving so far and opening so many doors for your country, but also in collaboration with other countries. So we're very honored to give you the floor and listen to your keynote address. Please, very warm welcome.
Thank you very much, Diane. Good morning, Your Excellencies, fellow young people. Before I start, I just want to say, Dr. Lorenzo, I'm going to order The Real World of College. And I really admire the idea of transformation, because I think it's not just attending college to transform, but the MEM forum today is as well an opportunity for all of us to transform. And I think in the past 10 days, all of you have been transforming and thinking about how can we use our gifts in service of this world together and connecting. Such a powerful vigor coming in today, this morning, the power of young people, adults gathering in partnership and harmony to create their own unique narrative. No matter what topic it is, and we saw 3 different panels, whether it's climate change, food security, tolerance, religion, geopolitics, or economy, there is a growing consensus among us all that our generation deserves a new kind of narrative. A narrative that is not made of conflicting opposites, not made of white versus black, right versus left, east versus west. A narrative that is inclusive of all of us, all shades of us. A novel narrative that is authored by us. Thank you to the University of Lugano. Thank you to the MENA division of the Swiss Federal Department of Foreign Affairs and the esteemed partners of MEM for really empowering young people to own this chapter of their narrative and co-author it together over the last 10 days. This space that you've provided is very critical, not just to exchange experiences and collaborate, but also to build a common understanding. But let me start. To the young people here, I have a question for you. Do you ever procrastinate? Can you raise your hands whoever procrastinates? I know you might be thinking the speaker is in the wrong forum, but please bear with me for a moment and think about procrastination. If you procrastinate, you are in good company. Most of us, I'm talking like 95% of the people here are in the same boat. To stop procrastinating is one of the top goals of many people I run into. And Peter Steele's once said, procrastination is pervasive. It's almost as common as gravity with an equal downward pull. It is within us, from the overfilled kitchen garbage in the morning to the nearly empty tube of toothpaste at night. I hope you all agree on that. And often we always put off tasks that we know we need to do. We've had them on our to-do list since morning, last week, or even for the last 20 years. Yet, we are unable to cross them out on this to-do list. And the longer we wait, the harder it becomes to get it done. Or ever get close to it. And it's not something only young people do. I'm sure even those who are a bit older in this room, and I'm not discriminating because a lot of the older aged people here have a very youth mindset, which I admire. But it's procrastination is like sitting next to a kitchen sink that has been dripping for weeks, trying to pretend it's nothing, yet the longer we wait, the bigger that pool of water under our feet gets. And then we wonder why we seem unable to make that commitment we know we need to do and we need to get on with. Whether it's a call we need to make, maybe on our to-do list, a book we need to read, and I'm going to read The Real World of College, an assignment we need to finish, a couch we need to break up with, or a new career we've always wanted to embark on, but we're procrastinating on moving and taking that step. Whatever it is, it's a promise, right, that we've made to ourselves. Yet we keep breaking that kind of promise. So we wander around as young people, heavy, frustrated, anxious. We fail ourselves and whoever is relying on us for that matter. Now, why am I speaking about procrastination in a forum that addresses the world's most pressing problems, such as world economy, food security, climate change? Because just as we procrastinate as individuals, governments, corporations, entities, private sector, even small businesses procrastinate as well. And let's take one topic that's been discussed today, climate change. If climate change was an exam, the human nation, if you just observe, would be the students that have been putting it off until the night before the exam or the test. Only then will we panic and pull an all-nighter and try to solve it because we know there's no way around it. The exam's tomorrow. I honestly doubt that's going to work, and I personally prefer that we have a more logical timeline. Climate change is one big assignment that has been sitting on our desk for decades, and yet the commitment to slow this perfect storm down is shy of serious. And my question today is why? Why are we procrastinating on climate change? And I know in the panel you'll discuss this a bit more, but what would it take to get corporates, governments off the couch and get them to open this file and open these books of climate change? Well, the good news is corporations and governments procrastinate for the same exact reasons we as individuals do. It's exactly the same equation. And I'll give you a hint here. It's nothing to do with time management. It's nothing to do with willpower, because governments have willpower and they want to address climate change. But if you think it's time management or willpower, it's like you're telling a chronic procrastinator to just get up and do it. And this is not effective. To be honest, it's as effective as telling a clinically depressed person to just cheer up. Did that ever work? Because the I don't feel like it when you procrastinate on the surface has a way more serious root under the surface. And we all need to kind of examine that and understand it, especially on the road to the global stocktake that's happening in 2023. And it's very important for COP27 and COP28 to address. Let's look at us as individuals. The first reason maybe why we procrastinate would be the same reason maybe governments procrastinate, and it's this feeling of intimidation. The emotional wall of awful. That is what big entities see when they think of all the hard work and difficult decisions that need to be made to combat the storm of climate change. The infrastructure that needs to be in place to accommodate the new sources of energy, the economic system that needs to be adapted at its core, the social behavior that must be picked up by citizens in a country, and the innovation mindset that needs to arise to serve this green economy, all that is just daunting for governments and entities. And what do we do as individuals when we see such a huge task ahead of us when we procrastinate? A task that is so complicated that we don't even know where to start. We avoid it. In other words, we stare at that wall of awful building up in our heads, and we try to go around it by looking for excuses or maybe easier priorities that need to be dealt with. And this is what governments of the world are facing right now. Do you think they can use some help in breaking free of such a habit? I think yes, and that's the good news here. Because big entities and government procrastinate exactly like us as humans, because they're made of them. The person who makes the call in this entity or in this government, or who calls for the decision or signs the agreement, are all humans that can be saved from this procrastination habit through the genius support of others. And my answer to this is young people. The question is now how? Where does young people fit in this equation of procrastination? And before you tell me, oh, Shamma, we're just young individuals, we have no power whatsoever over such big entities or government, I'm here to reassure you that you are more powerful than you think. Let's just step back a bit in history. It is individuals that have changed the world. A young girl standing outside the Swedish parliament that has protested about climate change. A few years back, a black woman refusing to give up a seat for a white man. Individuals are catalysts that allow the rest of us to change. So big entities can lead the change, but wait a minute, who are these big entities made of or longing to satisfy? They're here to serve us, individuals again. So all we need to do as young people is let them know we're not buying it unless it's environmentally friendly. They will beat up their procrastination habit and join this force. You know why? Because only then, when you will use your individual power, you will do three things, in fact. You're going to make climate change or food security or sustainable development urgent, you're going to make it personal, and you're going to make it motivating. Because only then, when it becomes those three things, urgent, personal, and motivating, it becomes a truth. And these three magical elements are what a procrastinator needs in his wake-up call. Think of yourself. You're not going to go do the exam or run to the dentist unless it's urgent if you have a toothache, right? So these three things are the strategy, and they're at the heart of them is the individual person. A few weeks ago, I was traveling abroad and I was ordering a car through one of the applications that you all use as well. And the application gave me an option to order an electric car. And I was like, wow, imagine if every young person on that app started ordering only environmentally friendly cars. And they started talking to everyone they know about doing the same. What's going to happen? Environmentally friendly car businesses is going to flourish. You may think small progress isn't worth the effort and you believe in fast progress, but if you stick to this mentality, chances are 1 year from now, in the other MEM 2023, you will be exactly in the same spot that you are today, and you'll be talking about the same exact topics. The customer might not always be right, but the consumer always has the upper hand of what gets made, where, and how. And if we care enough as young people, the powerful circle effect can win over this unnecessary catastrophe. And it starts with one person who truly believes in the need to change. And youth, of course, have been known over history to have such superpowers. Once again, in the history of humanity, let us, as young people, be the engines that drive big entities and drive government. Let us be the gas in their tanks, the force behind their climate change efforts, and by extension, let us be their pursuit of achievement here. I'm not trying to amend the climate change discourse that's been discussed, but I just feel like young people need a new narrative that comes from the core. And the secret ingredients to activate that is simpler than you think. It lies in our daily actions. Let's take our consumption patterns. Reducing, repairing, reusing, regifting, recycling. all have atomic power which can accelerate the whole process of reinforcing policy change. And I'm very optimistic that this is going to work, because combating climate change looks hard and huge. Procrastinating it will not make it a bit less necessary. How do we have electricity, showers, sewage systems? A few hundred years ago, our ancestors were not intimidated by the hard work, and they took care of opening the door of the wall of awful and the wall of difficult, so we can all sit in and enjoy the comfort right now and today. Don't you think we all in this room owe this to the next generation as well, and the generations to come? Changing our consumption habits is the most powerful tool we have, whether it's eating local, organic, low on food chain diet, going for recycled or vintage clothes, or rushing, avoiding the rushing to fast fashion, or optioning for a hybrid or electric car. It all adds up. But you know what adds up the most is what you're doing today. Making your voice heard, making them aware of the superpower that they have, creating this momentum of urgency to disrupt the frequency of the big procrastination project we have, and building the bridge of motivation to create a door into the wall of awful. At the heart of every ecosystem is a propeller, and I believe MEM can be this propeller. When you all connect, collaborate, and innovate and create the future that you aspire to live in, one action at a time. I'm beyond excited for the next climate change narrative and the next narrative in every geopolitics topic that is authored by you, by us, by young people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister. I'm very, very happy to have had such a, motivating and fresh and amazing introduction into this forum today. So heartfelt shukran iktir, shukran jazilan. Very happy that we had the honor and the pleasure to listen to this very meaningful opening speech. And it's really inspiring, not only for the young change makers, but for all the people at this forum today.